And that was Nothing Lasts Forever from Foxtracks right here on In the Pit. Kara in the studio with you this evening. And this band has been making a large name for themselves, especially with the release of some brand new music lately. And I'm so excited to see where they're gonna keep going. Because tonight I'm very honored to be chatting with Ben of Foxtracks. Hello, Ben.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for calling in and chatting with me this evening. I mean, you guys have been pretty busy, it seems like, releasing one single after another lately.
Yeah, it's been a lot, but it's been really fun. We've been really fortunate to have some really positive feedback on it, which is always inspiring.
Definitely. I mean, there's such good songs. Like, even your prior EP was so good. So before we dive into these new songs, before we get there, let's go back to the beginning on how you guys met, because it's not been that long that you guys have been a band, right?
Yeah, it's been about a little over 2 years now, which is crazy to think that it's been that long. It feels like it's kind of just flown by. Mm-hmm. But yeah, John and I have been friends since we were kids, and John and Jared are brothers, so we all kind of grew up together, but we actually never played music until later on. I think kind of a weird destiny that we all ended up in LA together in a band. I think when we were, 15 years old, we all knew each other, and I don't think any of us would have predicted this would happen. So, it's just crazy how life can turn out,
Yeah, I mean, were you guys in bands prior to this?
Yeah, we all played music.
Okay.
John and Jared played as a two-piece, kind of like a little of a Black Keys vibe, and it was just them two. And I played as a solo artist, and I think we were all just kind of looking for a project that we were just ready to go all in and go for it. I think, playing music is a kind of a way of life, and you have to just be willing to dive in head first.
Yeah.
And I saw that in John and Jared, and they saw that in me. So it was just, as soon as we started going for it, we just hit the ground running, and that's a really special situation. So, yeah, we're really lucky to have found each other.
Definitely. I mean, and if this is just what we have so far from you guys, I can't wait to see where your future keeps going, and it keeps just building for you guys.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. You guys were playing your own things at there. What were the inspirations that you had when you started this band? What was sonically the vision that you wanted to have Foxtracks?
Well, I think when we first started, we had really no idea, but really shortly after we formed, we went to this cabin in the middle of the woods of North Carolina, kind of on a whim. That was a pretty magical time for us. I think that we really became a band then. And we were outside, and there was all these, if I were to shout into the treetops, it would just echo through the woods, and it was amazing. Mm-hmm. And I think we kind of took a lot of inspiration from that, and we were really into one of our favorite collective records as a band is U2, The Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Just love those big soundscapes and almost cinematic at points. We just really dig that. So that was kind of where we first started to make music. That's where we came from. And then it kind of naturally evolved from there.
Okay. So The Cabin came out in 2016, right?
Yeah, it came out in 2016 with the help of we had made it we made a version ourselves with the help of a local producer named Reed Black, who's such a talented guy. And later on, this guy, Ben Ralston, who ended up producing our sophomore EP with Alexander Wolf, he heard the EP and was like, I see what you guys are trying to do here, but it seems like you may have not quite reached it. Let me help you. So he remixed and added a couple, just EQ'd things a little differently. I'm not really a technical person, but all I know is that when he finished, it was whoa, this is exactly what we were trying to do. He really drilled it. So we were super excited, and that's how really the band formed around that first EP.
Okay. So at that point, were you playing shows already, or did you go to the cabin, get some music, then to go play? Were you playing shows live yet?
Yeah, so we had maybe played a few.
Okay.
We played our first show ever at the Bitter End in New York City, which I don't know if any of your listeners are familiar with that scene, but the Bitter End is a really historic place in New York City for artists. It's in the 60s, it was super formative for Bob Dylan and Joan Baez, and then through the years, everyone coming up in New York City has played it. So for us, it was kind of a weird, poetic moment for us to play our first show at such a historic place. Yeah. And I think that night we played so above our means. Like, we were honestly a terrible band. we weren't really tight at all. Like, we maybe had some, like, you know, some decent bones for songs, but we were super sloppy. And we get up out on that stage, and we invited all our friends and family out to the show, and we just played like so much better than anyone could have expected us to play. I think people were like, "Whoa, they actually weren't as bad as I thought they would be," which is a surprise to us. And I think that was the moment where we kind of realized, like, hey, we could rise to the occasion. We could be a great band. Like, we should give this a real go. And that's when when we realized, all right, we need to go to a cabin, hunker down, and develop for a month and a half, and give ourselves a chance to come back fully fleshed out songs, some decent recordings, and like just hit the ground running. And I think when we came back from the cabin, we really just started to play like crazy amount of live shows, just in it like 4 or 5 nights a week, just gigging all the time.
Yeah, I mean, getting your name, like you said, you guys are from New York, so I would assume you were just up and down the streets there, getting your name everywhere.
Yeah, we played. What we would do is our strategy was like we would play. Like once a month, we would play like a big show in New York City at your like Pianos or Arlene's Grocery or Mercury Lounge type place, where we'd like really promote it. And then in between that, we would just play all these random shows in like anyone that would have us. We played a show in like the basement of a church in Queens once for one person. Like there was literally one guy there, and then like another band that played. Yeah. Like we had like a million bizarre, weird shows like that, and they were great because even though we were playing for nobody, it was like the best practice in the world. Definitely. To do like dry runs of the shows. And I think a lot of bands don't take the time to realize that like it's really a long game. You don't just become great overnight. You have to put in the work to hone your live sound and, hone your songs live. And that's how I think you really become good. But just by playing as much as you possibly can in front of people. Yeah. And I take every practice that you can. Yeah, they might be one person, but like you said, you're up there. It's not, okay, we're in our own little space. You're out there, you're performing, That's really cool. Yeah, for us, we kind of viewed it as, if we're playing for one person, that's just an opportunity to gain one more fan. Yeah. And so we would just like play our hearts out every night. Like we were playing Madison Square Garden for like one person, like I'd be jumping on John's kick drum and we'd be going for it. And there'd be like one guy like, wow, these guys are really awesome. That's awesome. But I think that was a really important time for our band. I mean, I miss those days, but I don't wish to be back. Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys were just on tour with Barnes Courtney. I mean, how do you get from that one person to this summer? Like, that's insane. Yeah, we're really grateful. That was such an amazing opportunity for our band. And it was just a jam to go out with Barnes. He's a really fun guy, super quirky, and he's a great artist. So we learned a lot from him. I think the music industry is just a weird place. So, you never know when you're going to get a great opportunity. And I think you just have to be ready when it happens. And so for us, I think we had played so many live shows, had been building it in New York and then moved to LA, and we're building it there and playing bigger and bigger venues. And so when that opportunity came in, we just like were so pumped to finally get a chance to prove to I guess America, which is we toured all of North America, to prove to North America how all this work that we've been doing and that we were worthy of being on the stage. And so we kind of felt like we had a chip on our shoulder while we were playing on that tour, and I think it made us just bring it every single night. And I think it was a really amazing time for the band, a really formative time as well. Yeah. At this point, were you done recording the new songs before you went on tour? No. So a lot of them had been written already, but we didn't really have a plan because we just wanted to do them right. And we had, so, when you live in LA, like every person's like, oh, I can record your record in my basement. Like, it'll take me 2 days and let's do this. So it was really hard to kind of pass on those opportunities, knowing that we wanted to get into the room with the right producer and do it right. So we ended up recording the EP in New York, where we recorded our first EP with Ben Ralston and Alexander Wolf, who flew in from England, and they met us kind of like our tour passed through New York. Okay. So we had toured for a month, landed in New York, and Barnes was playing a bunch of festival dates like Governor's Ball and stuff like that. And so we were off for like a week, and we were like, okay, we're going to take that week and we're going to record an EP. And I couldn't have sketched. It was lucky that it turned out that way, because having had an opportunity to play 20 dates in a row, these songs live, and see how the crowd reacts to them and see what moments are great. We were like a well-oiled machine when we went into the studio and cut them, so it was just like clockwork when we went in there. So that was super lucky. Wow. And also a great learning experience.
Definitely. I mean, those guys right there alone, just sitting in a room with them, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it was a pretty unbelievable time. Those guys are characters.
Oh. So far we have Nothing Lasts Forever. We have Everything Changes, Gray Morning. Now you're releasing them right now all as singles, but what is this leading up to?
So we're going to release an EP in the end of January.
Okay.
And we actually have another song. The EP will be released with these 3 songs plus an additional 4th song, which we actually wrote later on. So we didn't record it in New York, but we actually recorded it when we got back to LA. It's called Lonely Man on the Island. We're super proud of that one, and it kind of just snuck in the back door. But that'll round out the release, and then we'll release the whole record in January. And so we're actually going on tour next month for doing some West Coast dates, which will be super fun. And then probably look to do something around the release at the end of January as well. Well,
so we started out with Nothing Lasts Forever. So how did this song come about for you?
I think we were in a weird space when we first got to LA. Actually, it's so crazy to me that in 2 weeks or so it'll mark 2 years in LA.
Wow,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I think there was a moment, and there's been several moments where you are feeling just like, when is this grinding period going to end? Constantly like throwing songs at the wall, seeing if people are going to like them, playing tons of shows. Like, when's it going to be the point when people are just like, all right, this band has it. We love them, And I think that's it can be really grueling mentally. And I think that this song was kind of like almost a letter to ourselves, like, yo, this is fine. Nothing lasts forever. Like, this is going to pass. Like, we're going to get through this moment.
Yeah.
Which I think is the opposite of what, people say nothing lasts forever. I think most of the time they're talking about like, hey, like, good things are great in life, but they don't last forever. And this is kind of actually saying the opposite. So
when you were you recorded this one in New York. Was there anything that you changed when they came into the studio with this song?
Yeah. I mean, so we had like a pretty good arrangement for this one. And so we went in the studio with Ben and Alex. They kind of just like made like these little subtle changes, which now seem obvious, but I just overlooked them. Like we had this, that intro part, we were playing it, and they were like, why aren't you guys repeating that part? That's like the hook of the song. We were like, oh, you think? And it's like, now it's like, obviously like that's the hook of the song.
Yeah.
But we didn't notice that in the time. And sometimes, just good producers point out what's obvious to everybody and what makes total sense, but you're so close that that's why you need outside perspectives.
Definitely. I mean, you said now you've been in LA for 2 years. Changing from New York to LA, it's a difference. So did that change like your mindset and your writing at all?
Yeah, tremendously. Yeah. I write just from my experiences and, my emotions, and they're honest. A lot of my songs are a reflection of like where I am currently at or what I've currently experienced or something I've observed with my own eyes. And obviously you could take poetic license, for the sake of rhyming or for the sake of making something more impactful. But, all our songs are true for the most part. And I think that when we moved to LA, we had a whole new range of emotions and things we never felt in New York. New York was where we're from and our friends and family are there. So when we moved to LA, it was like our whole lives were just like culture shock.
Yeah.
So that really affected this whole EP. Was basically like what it was like when we first moved to this like emotional roller coaster we've been on for the past 2 years since we've been out here. So it just seems really fitting for the time that we're in. So I'm really glad that we're able to release it. When looking back, this all makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I want your point of view because I'm in PA, so I go up to New York all the time. I love the music scene in New York. I've never been out to LA. So I want your opinion. Is it more, do you think, dirtier almost in New York doing music, getting just yourself going in New York than you're seeing in LA with musicians? An underground approach to it?
I think, quite frankly, in New York is lacking a lot in that I think every good music city has like a strong undercurrent of really awesome music that's kind of bubbling to the surface, and then you see all these bands come out of the woodworks that are all from that scene, and I think you saw that in New York in the early 2000s with rock and roll, with the Strokes and then Norah Jones and the Bravery and all these other great bands that had kind of a similar sound and a similar style, and that kind of died a little bit, towards the end of the early 2000s, like the ends of the 2000s, the aughts, I guess.
Yeah.
And so in New York, there was just like the ashes of that scene. So that's why we left New York. We just kind of felt like there was no soul or camaraderie in that anymore. And we really found that in LA, there's a huge scene. Like, I know so many other bands that are all doing amazing things, and we're on tour and we do like a promo opportunity for a radio station or for some promo video, and like the other bands they had in, later in the week, even when we're in like Minnesota, were other LA bands that we know and have played with and we think are great. And that to me shows that there really is like a scene, an undercurrent in LA right now. And I'm just so glad that we kind of like happened upon it. We didn't really know that was there in LA. It was kind of by chance that it worked out. So that's pretty phenomenal.
That's awesome. I'm so happy for you guys that you found that, and that it's like bubbling you guys up. It's working so much in your advantage and everything that you're doing. So good luck with all of that again.
Thank you.
So another song that we're going to actually end the interview with later on is Gray Morning. I love this song so much. I want to know what was going through your head at the time of writing this song.
Yeah, this one was a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
Like rhythmically, but the song came about like most of our better songs. This one was like 10 minutes in the basement, like just like wave of emotion and just out immediately. And that happened, only a few other times in the history of our band. I was actually sitting in my basement in New York, in my parents' basement, and I just felt like, wow, this totally sucks. I mean, I don't want to live here anymore. I felt like I was just at a standstill in my life and my music, and I didn't really know what to make of that, and I just kind of felt like bogged down in everything and a little lost. And ironically, I wrote this song at nighttime, so it was not a gray morning, but I think I felt the emotions of what a gray morning was when I was writing it, and I think, if you're from the the relative East Coast, in the East Coast, you just have tons of these mornings that they, as John Mayer had said, like, it kind of just lasts all afternoon. You wake up and it already feels like it's, 5 o'clock. Yeah. And those days always felt really strange to me. I've always been fascinated by them. Like, I never can start my day. I just wake up and I'm in this haze of like, I guess I'll just wear my sweatpants all day and do nothing. And I think that song's kind of, encapsulating like what that emotion is and applying it to your life when that's not happening.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I completely understand now where you're coming from with that song. It all makes sense when you're listening to it, and I think fans are going to understand it completely. So, I mean, every song, you guys are just are deep, but you just want to kind of relax and just take in all the music at once. So it's so good. So one song is left for us to hear. Can you give just a little tease of what this song is kind of about that we have left to listen to that hasn't come out yet?
Talking Lonely Man on the Island, yeah. This song is probably like the outlier of the EP. I was flying with John and Jared to a show at the University of Idaho, and we were on like one of those charter jet planes with like 10 passengers, and like the turbines are really loud.
Oh God!
And I remember looking over. I was like, all right, no worries. Like, we had a good run, and then we die. And this plane, like, it reminded me of that scene in Almost Famous where it's like, we're flying over Tupelo, Mississippi, and we're all about to die. It was like impossible to avoid thinking that. And I kept and I was looking down, and we were flying over these like strange mountains that are like completely mud, but like capped with like one ring of snow on the top. And I just like immediately thought of, I imagine like what this situation might become if this plane just like crashed down on top of these mountains and I was the only guy who made it out alive.
All right, so morbid. Okay.
Yeah, no, it sounds more morbid than I think than the song feels.
Okay.
I guess. But yeah, it's kind of a strange one for our band. We don't really have a lot of songs like that, so it was like it was a cool exercise in songwriting for sure.
That's cool. Well, we have till what, January? January is when that one.
Yeah. Yeah, the end of January. That one will be out that'll be out with the whole EP.
All right. Well, now you have us very intrigued. You have me intrigued, that's for sure, to listen to what this song is going to sound like. So we're very excited for that.
Yeah.
Then how can people get your music? How can people check you guys out? Social media, website, what's going on with that?
We're at Fox Tracks Band on Twitter and Instagram, but you can find our music on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, whatever, any streaming service you use. Or if you want more information about our tour dates or our music in general, just go to foxtracksband.com. Have everything you need.
Perfect. I was checking out your website. You do a lot of stuff with street teams?
Yeah. I think it's really important. We've lucky enough to go to a lot of these new cities, the Portlands and Seattles of the world. And, it's hard. We live in LA, so we can build that here and play tons of shows, but it's not as easy in Portland and Seattle. So we rely on some of our more loyal fans to help us, spread the word.
Yeah.
It's been really helpful for us.
That's some of my favorite bands are that I love when bands do that very like Green Roots type thing, and just these are the people that are listening to you, so I think that's really cool for what you're doing.
Yeah.
All right. So you have tour coming up with the rest of 2017. We have more music coming out the end of January of 2018. Anything else up your guys' sleeves that you can give us?
I wouldn't want to give too much away. I want people to follow closely. For us, the exciting thing about being a young band is that things are always changing. So just be on the lookout for new announcements, new tour dates. Anything can happen at any time. So it's an exciting time for us, and we're really excited to be sharing some new music. And hopefully, once we release this EP, a full length on the horizon after that. So exciting times ahead for sure.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to see where you guys continue to keep growing, and wherever you go, it's going to be awesome. Congratulations with this new music. I can't say that enough. Just congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a listen to Gray Mornings to end things out. So Ben, if you want to introduce this song, we'll take a listen.
You're listening to Gray Morning by Fox Tracks.